Ipswich Buses, your local bus company serving your football team. Buses run every 10 minutes. Avoid the traffic. Don't get stuck in the delay. Get Ipswich Buses today. A single from only £1.20, a return from only £2. Find out more information at www.ipswichbuses.co.uk. Ipswich Buses, proud to partner with Talking Town. Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome back to Talking Town Extra Time, the show that is on a Monday night, a little bit removed from the weekend. So are we a little bit more reserved, a little bit more thoughtful, or are we still as angry this weekend because we lost, or sometimes as happy as we were when the Town have won? It's a show that tries to put a bit more thought into the opinion, and I'm joined by two wonderful people. One of them was there, and one of them made the wise decision to not be there. But probably kicked himself all the way up till about 60 minutes that he wasn't. But he was not there. But we are all here this evening. I see the chat is absolutely going wild, and I love to see a chat that's really busy. Lots of opinion. There will, of course, be a live link on tonight's show if you've not yet seen the Twitter advert. Although, let's be honest, you probably have, because Instagram's down, Facebook's down, WhatsApp's down. We're now suddenly realizing what we do with our time. I mean, I've been looking at my phone like it's a brick for the last half an hour, thinking work. But anyway, it's not worked. But we're here. We've got Accrington Stanley reaction still. We've got Graeme and Brooke has brought something to the party that I'm quite intrigued about. He messaged me to say he's made a list of cookie pros and cons, not the biscuit. The manager, Paul Cook, pros and cons, because there's no cons to a cookie. Let's be honest, there's absolutely no cons whatsoever. But Paul Cook, there may well be. He'll run through those, and we'll answer Amy predominantly, but we'll answer to see if we agree with that. Maybe you would agree with that in the chat. Who knows? And then we'll look to Gillingham, the game that no one cares about, and the game that no one's going to. So you'll all be watching the matchday ticket tomorrow with myself, Steve, and Coxie. I have got an article out on Suffolk News. My weekly column has gone early. A lot of things in this house go early, as she's Martin. Jesus Christ, don't say that sort of joke. But yes, it has gone early. It is up to be read. It is their most read sports story today. That made me feel so much better, because today I've not felt good. I've been in a really bad place today, so I'm just excited to be here with you, the community, and just talk football and just forget life for all of 5 seconds. We've got Lee Brown in the room. Welcome in, Lee. Mike the Fisherman is in the room. We've got Victoria Henderson. Matt, no Jaegers for me. I leave that to the youngsters. I'm going to ask Amy if that was true. I've got a feeling you might be a Pinocchio there. I think your nose may be growing as you write that. Matt Stannard, there goes my light. Crash bang wallop. Matt Stannard, with weather like Aki on Saturday, needed the Jaeger to keep the cold at bay. Red wine warmed Victoria Henderson up. Dino's in the room. Makes some great points on Twitter recently, Dino. Love to see some healthy debate. Evening ref. Irvin is in the room. Good man, Irvin. We've got Emerson, frustrated in my current emotion, still frustrated. I'm a little bit better today. Yesterday I was really angry. Today I'm a little bit just disappointed. Great chance to really build and move forward. And now we're sort of looking at it again through the eyes of, what have we got? So let's kick things off. Actually, before I bring these wonderful contributors in and stop waffling, I want to say to Matt Phillips, his wife Lizzie, and to Chris, a truly well done on running the London Marathon, or doing, as Lizzie did, a virtual one from I think around Chelmsford. Truly well done in raising money for good causes and pushing yourselves to the limits. I'm very proud of you. The community is very proud of you, and this platform is very proud of you. And a huge congratulations to you both, and to anybody else, whether you watch the show or not, for doing the London Marathon. It's a huge thing. And as I say, we're very proud of you. Right, let's bring in the person who was at the game on Saturday. Hopefully she's sobered up. It's the Queen of Hearts, or the Queen of Gin. You're even drinking in the intro. I just realised you're even drinking in the intro. Absolutely.
I assumed that's why you picked that shot.
No, pure coincidence. It's just dawned on me. Anyway,
Having a
Amy,
sip of
you're
cider
here.
from my mug, as you do.
Absolutely, as you do. Amy, it's incredibly good to be here with you on a show. Been a while. You've got married in the time. We've done an away days guide. Got some of those stuff coming up. You owe Leighton Durrant a pint, says Leighton Durrant. Is that
I'm
true?
not surprised.
You're not surprised. Right, so
you know I'm good for it, Leighton. Next time I see you, I'll get the first ones in.
He messaged me and said, I've got a claim to fame. I was in a Talking Town show. And he was in the background of you in the intro, in the pre-game show. I was quite worried because I thought he might ask for some royalties. At one point, like, he's not going to ask for some royalties here, is he? Just a joke. There's no money in this deal.
There was a lovely crowd of Talking Town people in the Crown beforehand, as predicted. Was wonderful. Got to meet Beep, the legend that is Mr. Beep, for the first time, which was amazing, and his lovely wife. So we chatted for a long time. Leighton was there, Ant and Ben were there with me. There was the Stannard brothers, the Stannard children. So it was amazing seeing them, because I've seen them grow up.
That Huey is sharp as a pencil. He is flying up that prediction league table. He is sharp. You gotta watch him.
Love it.
But what was it like, Amy? Because that sounds like a classic away day. It really does. Back with family, drinks, good times, and the football ruins it. But what was it like meeting Beep without the beep? Was it weird?
What was strange was actually being able to talk and like not being limited by the 280 characters on Twitter. Just
not being limited by that.
And... Yeah.
Beep. Did his wife stand behind him and go, beep? Just for the authenticity to see, who he was.
It was just nice being able to go in depth. It was wonderful.
But the football did ruin it, didn't it, as it normally does?
Ridiculously so. I was absolutely sulking by the end of it. I was going to try and do check in on the show from the ground, but thankfully internet problems made me think, no, I'll go back to the pub where there's Wi-Fi, but also I'll just grab myself a large glass of wine before we go on. But yeah, it was just like seeing everybody beforehand was amazing. That's nearly 20 months for me, and some of my closest friends in the world who I got to see for the first time since January 2020, and just giving them a big hug, and everybody. I just another follower, Massey Edge. I haven't seen him since Blackpool away in 2020, and I literally just didn't want to let go of him. I haven't seen him for so long, and it was just so exciting. So yeah, having all that, like that build up to it and all the emotions of that and the excitement from Tuesday, and everybody was in such a good mood, and I don't think anybody really thought Accrington stood a chance, especially with their bad run up beforehand. I don't think it was cockiness. I think it was just confidence for once.
Yeah.
So then to have a first half that was like a training game, and then a second half that was just no answer. It was just... Ugh.
It wasn't good, was it? And before we get into it, we've got to bring, obviously, our third and final member. But before I do it, just to hear the stories of yourself meeting those people, obviously, hugging your friend there and not wanting to let go. It's not normal in the sense of we're still living in a pandemic, but it's a sense of normality returning and family and friends. And if there's one thing I've realised today, it's you need your friends, and you need to rely on them, count on them, lean on them, and you only realise how much of a big part of your life they are when they're not there. So it does make me smile to think of you, and obviously you've got some friends and family that you didn't have before the pandemic. Thanks, and don't want it to sound big-headed when I say the sentence, but thanks to Talking Town, I don't know if you went together with Vicky before or Beeb, etc., etc. So, from my perspective,
That's
really
Vicky
exciting.
and I hadn't met before the show. We've spoken quite a bit online, but we went to the game together. We went home, so we were able to keep each other company and safe. We managed to bump into several Norwich fans on the train, which was great fun. I don't know if you saw my tweet, but Vicky, I couldn't find her on the train, and she said, "You'll spot me because I'm near the only Norwich fan that's on the train." And of course, I did spot her a mile off once I knew that. But as he was getting off, he said, "Enjoy your day. When you get off the train, mind the gap," which I thought was rather funny.
Yes, I saw you tweet that, and that reminded me of a certain sort of trip to Fulham, where we were all saying "mind the gap" because there was a huge gap at that point ahead of us and Norwich. So that's a great moment, I think, to bring in our third member of today's team, somebody who has seen us at our best, which is always above Norwich and always better than Norwich. But sadly, he's also seen us at our worst. He's one of those selection of unique fans like Colin Plum and co that have seen the highs, seen the lows, seen the greats, and seen the zeros. Whether or not we're living with the zero at the moment remains to be seen. But making the qualifying contribution for an intro for the next show, been busy, is around the world. Graeme, Brooke, Adventures of a Tractor Boy, looking as we're all feeling, pissed off with life, but we love him all the same. That's a smile. There you go, yourself. Done my job already. He smiled to kick off. Graeme, welcome. How are you? You missed Accrington. I bet you're feeling quite pleased with yourself now, aren't you?
I am, but basically we'd arranged to go up to Accrington. I was going up with one of my mates, and as you know, like I nearly died earlier in the year and had a pulmonary embolism. So being very, very, very cautious. So all of this week, my mate was taking a lateral flow test. I said just do it before we go, but he took one every day. And we were talking about all the final arrangements Thursday night for going up on Saturday morning. And then he texted me about 7:45 on Friday morning and said he'd been working very closely with one of his employees who'd just gone down with a positive test for COVID. And he said, I'll leave it up to you. But he said, I don't feel comfortable sitting in the car for 10-hour round trip with the possibility that I could pass it on to you if I've got it. And then later in the day, he said that two more of his, so I'm not clapping it as a fly flying around. He said two more of his employees had gone down with it as well. So just wasn't worth the risk at all. So I rang the club up and they sort of said, well, if you can get the tickets over to us by middle of the day, I guess they take the tickets back up on the coach. Yeah. They give us a refund on the tickets. So, but it was annoying. The next morning, for some reason, my body clock woke up at the exact moment.
You were excited.
Yeah, well, my body clock woke me up at 6:30, the exact time we were due to set off from Managerial and go up there, and then didn't get back to sleep. And then for about the next 3 hours, it was I'll be at Huntingdon, I'll be at Peterborough, I'll be at Newark, and so on. And then I succumbed as I should have been there, and I was missing the match. I thought I'll listen to BBC Suffolk for the first time in about 3 years because I don't really like listening to the radio. I just don't like radio commentary. It's nothing against BBC Suffolk per se, but to be honest, like it just sounded. And I thought I'd made an interpretation of the game, but I wasn't. When you're listening to it on the radio, you're not 100% certain. But then when I read various tweets and sort of comments from people on that had actually been at the game, and I thought, yeah, I've got it pretty well spot on, you know. So in the end, gutted not to have gone because that was going to be my first away game for God knows how long. But in the end, you sort of tend to think, well, that saved 18 hours of my life and probably 100 quid plus. So I couldn't even make up for it like Amy and have a good old drink there because I'd have been doing like a near on 600-mile round trip and I was the one driving. So
it's a horrible journey. But I just have to say, obviously, your views on the radio commentary are your own and not of the network.
I know it's not against it. It's just I'm not one for listening to any football, whether it's Radio 5, BBC Suffolk. I like to have the picture in front of me. That's just personal preference. That's nothing against the radio commentary.
No, I know. I was just teasing. Amy, can you confirm? I don't know where in relation to Beep where you were in the game, but Brendan Carter says he enjoyed watching Beep giving Dynasty and Love Eyes every time he took a throw in the first half. Can you confirm or deny that may or may not have been happening?
I love that. I didn't see Beep once we got to the ground, but that's just reminded me that Vicky and I stood with Curtis, which was amazing as well, seeing Curtis and getting to chat with him all game. So that was we stood ourselves right at the top at the back, which was nice being able to see the fans' reaction like from behind. But I don't know where Beep ended up, I have to admit. But
you didn't.
I don't think Dynastian deserved the love heart eyes this weekend, if I'm honest.
Did you at any point tell anybody to sit down? Because I know you're quite known for that.
Well, I always do, don't I? Yeah, every time, the fact that I stood for the whole of game, but everyone else could sit down.
in all honesty, and I don't want to bring up old ground, but that's why I don't go away from home. I'd love to go away from home, but obviously with my disability, I wouldn't be able to stand for the whole 90, and you can't.
Well,
and
actually,
I know Lee Brown does his best to give you
seated
tickets. Yeah, but you get one or two. Individuals, I'll call them, as it's only 8:46, and you can't see the game, or you can only see half the pitch, and it's just ruined. But
that's why I liked Accrington, because we could stand, and everybody else. Because I know Stannard was in the seated area with his family, quite rightly, totally. In fact, wasn't there where Beep's at? I'm sure him and his wife are in the seats.
Yeah, Beep's a sitter. He strikes me as a sitter, does Beep. He doesn't strike me as somebody's at the back with a vuvuzela and a flare. Do you know what I mean?
Vuvuzela.
I don't know how that came to mind there, but it did. That's a question for you, Graeme. St Etienne, did they ever have vuvuzelas back in the day?
I don't think so. It was a very electronic atmosphere there. I mean, I know because we travelled down independently, we were up in the main sort of seated stand, almost diagonally opposite to where most of the Ipswich fans were standing behind one goal. And we started singing God Save the Queen, and then the bottles just started raining in on us and everything. They weren't impressed, and there weren't many of us. But
I'll call you KOK. If Cook keeps this up, Martin, you have to think about making a trip to Forest Green Rovers. No, I'm never going to go there. They don't serve burgers. A man's got to have a burger at a football game. Cox's comments: there was a lorry reserving, and Steve could not draw himself away. Neil Pert, Colin, do you know anyone who's going to Plymouth to get me a ticket at all? Matt Stannard, pocket smoke alarm, gov, no womb, just a beep. I'm gonna get him one of those little alarms, and he can just press it when he feels like he needs a bit of a beep in the background. Safety guy 20. Do you think either 19 had their pre-season interviews for the Passion, and now they came to us? David Pascoe. Okay, I'll call you David. Now I know that. I'll call you David. Nice to see you, David. It's nice to see that back among the live chat. So, Stanley, Amy, you went. You got drenched. You got absolutely soaked. You say Dynastian didn't deserve the love eyes. Talk us through it. What happened? Why did we lose? Who stood out for the wrong reasons? Give us your perspective on it.
Where to even start? I think the first half was just too, like I said before, it was like a training game. There was just nothing there, and we just needed a spark. And I think sort of both teams were quite relaxed and not really pushing hard. There was, to be fair, some really nice passing football from us. I was quite impressed with that, and I felt like it could maybe build to something. And the one chance we had, obviously Bond got that and took it very well, I thought, his goal.
Great goal.
So that was really nice. I just said to Vicky and Kurt, I'm going to go down for a wee, and then I'm going to get a pint. And I said to Vicky, I'll meet you down there. And it was about 5 minutes before half time. And when you're just like, right, okay, I'm going to go in a minute. I'm going to go in a minute. And then just as I went to make the step down, he scored. So thankfully, I managed to catch the goal before I went for a wee. But yeah, so we went down at half time, and what you said about me being too honest. We went down at half time, and everyone was in a really good mood. This is it, right? We've kick-started now. We're out of first gear. Second half's going to be amazing, but we just didn't do anything with it the second half, whereas they did, and they managed to counter it very well. They stopped us playing. I thought Nottingham was really good. He managed to sort of stop anything coming down his side of the pitch. But equally, I thought, if I remember right, it was Nottingham on Fraser. And actually, I thought he was probably one of our most active players. Fraser, for me, was the only one that deserved any possible praise, in my opinion, just because I thought all the activity came from him. He set up got the goal, and also there was a chance at the start of the second half where he crossed it in for Bon, and I think it went high, went above the bar. So it just felt like he was the only one who really brought anything to the game. The other thing that we were all saying, even in the first half, my friend Brett was saying it, and I was telling him, no, don't be silly. But we needed a spark, and actually that spark could have come from James Norwood. And when he came on, he showed that actually he did have that spark, because he nearly got sent off after getting into fisticuffs, I think. I still don't know what happened there. Did you guys see?
No, we didn't. Obviously, Graeme wasn't there, bless him. But no, I didn't see that. I didn't see that either.
Martin did say that I could watch the whole rerun of it on iFollow last night, and I refused point blank.
He did.
I don't blame you.
The US Open squash was far more appealing.
I even said to him, "You can watch the extended highlights." You'd have thought I'd killed his cat. Honestly, you'd have thought I'd have got a better response if I said I'd run over his cat. Emerson Fairweather says, anyone know what's happened to the Burger Man from the Churchman's? Not been there all season. I know. If you're watching this, Mr. Burger Man from the Churchman's, please come back. Please. We need you back at Portman Road. The burgers you do are just out of this world. Ben Moore's been getting shit from the Cambridge fans. Don't worry, Ben. We're going to smash them. Do not worry. Brandon Carter. Got to say one thing I dislike about the home games, watching 15-year-olds sitting around blue action and appearing to clearly be pissed or on something worse. I did find out, I don't know if you two know this, but I was on the hunt to find out what that banner was that they wave at the front. And I have found out what it is. And it's connection to Ipswich Town. I'm very confused about. I'll have to look it up again in a second. But Graeme might know, because Graeme knows everything. Graeme, people in the chat are asking, second book, when's it coming?
Oh, it started, and I'm looking at retiring at Christmas, so I might have some time to do it next year. You never know.
Exciting.
Ooh, well, if you do, I was going to ask for some royalties, but that's a bit cheeky. No, I won't bother. Monty, don't get. Sure, some nice, pretty football, and the wife's always banging on. I've got to get more money, so you know. Sure, some nice football. We're not organised without the ball. She's going to kill me when I come off here. And don't close down and win about the ball. That's Monty. I think
a lot of that's credit for Accrington as well. To be fair, they were the ones that were stopping us playing. They were the ones that were countering our play. So I do think we underestimate every single time we play them, home or away. We underestimate them, and we get cocky because it's Accrington Stanley. Who are they? And I kind of get bored of that joke, because it's a bit like, well, they're the team that always beat us. And I'm with Graeme. I flat out refuse to go back to Accrington ever again. I'm done with it now.
I haven't refused. I took you to task.
You wouldn't?
Don't go back. I love Andy Holt, but it's a shithole.
Yeah.
It's not worth the time.
I've never seen us win there, but I've had a brilliant time every time I've been there, and the fans and Andy Holt and everyone in the club in general, really welcoming, and that's like one of my favourite away games, despite the result. But you could say that probably about most grounds the last few years, couldn't you?
We were saying, my friend Brett and I have banned Blackburn from our list of grounds that we can go to, because we've never seen us win there either. So Accrington has now joined my blacklist, because I'm fed up of getting cold, getting wet, and never seeing us win.
Well, let's get back to playing Blackburn first.
That could have been worse. When I was like a real youngster many years ago, I made a pact that I would go to Anfield every year until Ipswich won, and that even included when we played. I think we played them in the league at the weekend, and then the League Cup semi-final where we'd lost the first leg, back up at Anfield. Did that, and I did something like 19 or 20, I can't remember exactly, away games at Anfield. And then I think it was in the early 90s, and I thought, bollocks, I ain't going to bother going to this one. And it was the one that Adam Tanner got the first ever bloody victory, wasn't it? So ye of little faith.
Speaking of Tanner, we had
maybe I should learn from that.
For Doncaster, and that was the most surreal experience I've had for a long time. Just to come on to the back end of the Stanley chat before we come to your pros and cons there, Graeme. Obviously, as I said at the start of the show, I wrote this week's article a bit early. It's been released, most read sports story on their website. I'm going to say it again because it's bloody good. But I want to pull out just a paragraph of it and just get your thoughts. Because Graeme, you may not have seen Stanley, but you've seen us over the season, and Amy likewise. I wrote, among other things, this was written just as full time had gone, so I kind of, steam was coming out the ears. But I put bluntly, I don't care how manager Paul Cook and coaches Francis Jeffers and Gary Roberts do it, but somehow they simply must improve and speed up the process of making in-game adjustments and changes, or they face the risk of this season petering out and an okay season, something that Edmondson in his pre-match to Accrington said wasn't acceptable when he spoke with Cook and Ashton, but we're petering out, and an okay season in League One, something we know the club won't accept, may well be the only thing we can look forward to. We've got a comment here in the chat from Chris McBain. The manager and coaching staff's job is to get the team ready and up for a match. Are they doing that properly? In-game adjustments this year. Am I right in what I say there, or do you feel maybe Cookie's coming around and given some more time, he can maybe make those adjustments a bit sooner, Amy? What do you think there?
I was just going to say, I didn't want to, having had my moan about the players and like the on-field action or non-action as it was, I was just going to say, I'm not blaming the players, because this is his responsibility. Them coming here, whether it was cockiness, whether it was just tiredness, I don't know. It just seemed weird. And I know he said that as well, to go from 6-0 on Tuesday to losing 2-1 on Saturday was just unfathomable, but that's his responsibility, and he could have made that change. And I think I said it on Saturday, I just didn't understand the substitutes. Giving James Norwood 10 minutes at the end of a game that was that dire was pointless and ridiculous, and the changes that he did make made no difference at all. I had been looking forward to seeing Harper playing, but I just think in that game it maybe didn't suit him, I don't know, but he just wasn't the right choice. He absolutely wasn't. And I saw somebody saying on Twitter about Accrington's like physicality. They were all so tall. Their players are huge, and it made ours feel really sort of like weak and feeble almost. And I just feel weak and feeble. And I just felt like actually maybe that's right. The pretty tippy-tappy football isn't going to work in these lower leagues on its own. We've got to be able to back it up with the defence and the strength as well, which none of our players showed that, including, unfortunately, Donatian and Edmondson, who obviously have been really solid lately. At both of their goals, you look, and there's six of our players in the area, just not even looking at the ball. They're just kind of watching each other. I don't know what I just can't figure it out. And for me, the change needed to be up front. If we are up front, all the time, scoring goals, even just having shots on goal, we've taken the pressure off the defence. Yeah. And that was the problem with Saturday. And that's why it was better on Tuesday. And that's why we've managed to keep some clean sheets, is because we've been pushing forward. But Bond can't do it on his own. Actually, I feel like I'm throwing all my notes out now, but that was the other thing, was the way they kept hoofing the ball up front. Well, that was because they'd run out of ideas. Sorry,
because I'll come back to that, because it is an important topic. But I want to pick up on your Norwood point there. But before I do, Nick Sterling says the players and staff should listen to Talking Town during a training session and take on board the excellent comments on here. Nick, thank you very much. They should. Cookie, watch the show. You might learn something. Graeme, you were listening to the radio commentary. Amy said there about James Norwood. Alex Matthew said it should have happened 10 minutes earlier. How do you feel listening to Amy? Listening to the paragraph, Cookie's in-game adjustments, Alex Maffey, what's your thoughts on it?
No, I totally agree that Norwood should have probably been on like with the last half hour or last 25 minutes just to rough it up a bit, because that's the sort of rough, tough, sort of muscular, sort of bullied off the pitch sort of thing, where he'd stand up for it a bit more. Exactly. So I'd have had him on earlier. But what I couldn't tell from the radio, Amy, you can tell me whether it was the same recurring theme, but I don't know if it's me, but pretty much most of the game, obviously with the exception of Doncaster, but even Doncaster, we sort of took the foot off the pedal for a little bit in the second half and then stuck all the goals in like in the 70th or 80th minute or whatever. But what I've noticed pretty much most games this season is we get to about the 60, 65 minute mark, and then we just drop off. We seem to look like we're lacking energy, like we're sort of almost haven't got that fitness. We just sort of run out of steam a little bit. And that seems to be, you could maybe understand the first few games when we brought some players in that maybe hadn't had as much pre-season training and everything. But, you know, when you get to that point where everyone was saying, hallelujah, the Wycombe game's off, we've got 2 weeks of solid training, no interruptions, we're still seeing that to an extent now. I don't know what it was like at Accrington on Saturday, but
I don't think the steam even lasted that long, to be honest. And I personally would put it down to confidence more than anything, because it was once they scored their first goal, it felt like Bond's goal first half was sort of almost lucky. They kind of almost hadn't been expecting it after the way the game had been going to that point. So second half could have gone either way. So once they scored the equaliser, it was almost like they were just completely spent of any of their energy. They just didn't want to keep trying. And like I say, Accrington just kept stopping us play. Had Bond's header gone in just after half time, I think we would have been in for a rout. But I just think that we allowed them to get their confidence up with that goal, and our heads dropped whilst they were like, well, hang on a minute, we've got control of this game now, and they were completely on top for the whole of the second half.
Out of interest, Amy, do you do the stats? How many league matches this season have we taken the lead and lost the match? Because if you were a dog owner, you wouldn't let us take your dog for a walk, would you? Because we must have lost so many bloody leads.
but that's in-game adjustments, because it's the game within the game, the chess match inside the game. And Paul Cook couldn't play chess to save his life. It's halfway through the show. I just want to have a quick pause, quick swig of my drink, and then we're going to come back to your list of pros and cons, Graeme. So get it ready, dust it off. But is it maybe after you've listened or watched Ipswich Town, you need to talk? If you need to talk, you need one man. Welcome to Private Space Therapy, the business of our very own milk tray man, Ben Adams, who's a certified therapist and counsellor registered with the BACP. Ben's offering appointments face-to-face in Colchester on the beautiful university grounds, or by video, telephone, or even home visit. So if you do feel like you need someone professional to listen, to understand, and to discuss what's going on with you, give Private Space Therapy a call. Private Space Therapy. Non-judgmental, unconditional support with you at the centre always. Call 01206 259 311. He's a great guy, is Ben, or maybe this is your preferred route. Tongue in cheek, obviously, but they are great beers. That I do condone. You know me, Amy. I'm Mr. Sensible all the time. Graeme,
Yes.
do me now, my friend, because the list of pros and cons. Let's go. What have we got on this list tonight?
What do you reckon? Shall we run through the cons first and then finish on the positive with the pros? That'd be the nicer way to do it.
I like your thinking. Let's go.
Okay. So I'll go one at a time. Amy, and you can comment, and then we'll go on to the next one. Sounds good. On the cons for Paul Cook, I would go one plan and no plan B.
100%. 100% with you on that one.
Yeah, that's for me why I've been him. I'll say that now.
Even on Tuesday night, that was my problem with him. It's like when things are going well, fine, but he's got and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, we're fine again now." I was like, "Well, no, not really," because he still hasn't figured out. Tuesday night was okay because his idea worked. The problem comes when it doesn't work.
But how often will Ipswich Town Football Club in any division be the best team in the game from minute 1 to minute 90? They won't be. We never have done in the whole time I've been alive. That's why I'm on the Cookout bandwagon. But anyway, Graeme, on you go.
Right, the second one. The team appears easily bullied and muscled into defeat. So you know you've got these fighting, almost like, no disrespect, and I won't mention any opposition teams, but these pub Sunday league type teams with these big bruisers that just sort of knock us out. Non-league, Sam Morty called them, Graeme. Non-league, so you can use that term if you like, because Sam Morty certainly didn't hold back when he said it. Amy, what do you think of that one? I agree with that one. I think
I think definitely Saturday certainly proved that. The only sort of slightly to balance it is that when we are in control, we are I don't want to say unbeatable, but you can see the confidence just oozing out of us, like on Tuesday night. So actually, if we're in charge, we kind of are the bullies, but through nice football. Whereas when it's not nice football, then yes, absolutely, we get bullied out of the game. So yeah, you can stick that in the cons for me as well.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I've sort of said to some of our esteemed owners that I personally feel that Ipswich are a top 2 side when they're in possession of the ball generally, but when they're not in possession and they're trying to sort of cover wherever, I put them as a bottom 2 side, maybe with the exception of the Doncaster game, but I think we look a completely Jekyll and Hyde team at the moment.
Are you saying, just to clarify for the guys and girls and myself, primarily myself, because I'm dumb as a brick, are you saying we're good with the ball, but then without the ball, our shape and our discipline is all wrong?
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Amy, what do you think on that one?
Yeah, can't fault with it. I think that's absolutely right. Again, perfect example Saturday.
Perfect, Graeme, on you go.
Next one, inexperienced coaches and no assistant manager. I've been a bit concerned because Paul was looking to get Liam Richardson, who understandably has got the manager's role at Wigan, and look what he's doing up there at the moment.
Flying.
Basically, he never came in, and it's almost like backed yourself into a corner a little bit now, saying I don't need an assistant manager, I don't want to go with the assistant manager route, where one play the devil's advocate, someone like John McGreal, who's been down watching a lot of the matches, an ex-great Ipswich centre-half, you could sort of say maybe we need a defensive coach, potentially. And it just gives someone for Paul to bounce his ideas off and everything. But I wonder whether that bridge has been burnt because, like in the pre-season, he said, I don't want. So it's almost like a bit, whether you're big enough to say, oh, well, maybe I do, or whether, you've backed yourself into that corner. But when you look at the coaches we've brought in, and it's no disrespect to the guys, but you brought someone in that was still playing for Accrington Stanley last year, so very inexperienced as far as a first team coach goes. You bring someone that is inexperienced as far as the lower levels. He was a whatever coach or assistant or manager at the under-23s at Everton, but again, you would question how much experience is there and how much it's all on Paul's shoulders. So I believe the offer was there that if he wanted an assistant manager, he could have one, but he hasn't chosen that route. So I just sort of wonder whether we're missing something.
I would say no, because I can't backtrack on something I've said previously in saying I don't think it matters, but I do see the point. Amy, how do you feel?
Yeah, agreed. I totally agree with that. I think for me, the man management doesn't seem to be there, as we saw. We've seen from the lack of discipline, from the lack of effort. And they've all said it was a lack of effort this weekend, haven't they? And that for me is up to him. He needs to be sorting that out. And if he can't, he needs a right-hand man. Mick had Terry. That's the comparison I always think of. And I just think that whether or not he was aiming, he had a plan and it went wrong, or worse, he said he didn't need an assistant, and he maybe was cocky enough to think he could do it on his own. I just don't think he is. And you're right, there's a lot of pressure on him for having to sort of the three that he has got, the lack of experience. There's putting a lot of pressure on himself with everything else that's going on at the moment as well. It's hard on him, but what can we do about that? Like, it's too late now, surely.
Well, yeah, because any move now would be undermining him, wouldn't it? Any move now would be seen as an undermined move.
But to me, though, the position, whether you're a cook-in or a cook-out person, the position at the moment is, irrespective of the squad of players we've got, it's a highly dangerous position. We're just outside the bottom 4. If you go with a gut reaction or whatever and got rid of Cook now, that could be highly dangerous with the disruption turmoil that would cause. Yep. Remember, he's brought a lot of the players in because Paul Cook's the manager and he's got a proven track record. I know that counts for nothing now, but he's brought those players in. So to me, if it's not working as it is, I would be more preferable to see what can we do to make it work with Paul Cook rather than getting rid of Paul Cook. You could have another Paul Hurst situation quite easily, So
definitely. The only issue I'd say with that is, and it's a great point, and it is a really good point, and I completely see where you're coming from, and I'm kind of leaning, the more we speak, into your idea. I'm just thinking if you said, let's say they said to him, like, you know, you just need somebody to help you, and he said, okay, fine, and then results didn't pick up.
It's a threat to him, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, who are you bringing in? What's their pedigree? Is it pedigree enough to replace him? But equally, if it doesn't work, what's the next step as the ownership or the leadership? Is it, well, you've done the coaching, you've done it's got to be you. You know, it's one of those things. But those are great cons. I'm sure you've probably got more. But let's spin it. Let's be positive now as we head in towards another match day preview. So, hang on, before we do, let's get a few comments. Mark Dowling, these players were meant to be the best you could get in League One. Individually, they've all felt far. All actually been fine. Stephen, they are not going to get an assistant. They might have to sack in a few weeks. Ryan, players would move on from the manager. It's how football works. They'll be fine. George Nunn, the legend that is George Nunn, to make it work with Paul Cook, he needs to admit it's not working now. His refusal to change his tactics isn't pointing at that being the case. Pros, let's go positive now. I know Colin Plum loves a bit of positivity, so let's give it to him in buckets. What we got, Graeme? Pro number one.
Right. He's got a proven track record on winning promotions.
To me, that means absolute naffle, because it's a not for long league, in my opinion. It's a what have you done for me lately?
Okay, but
you are right.
Play the flip side though. If you had your way of getting Paul Cook out now, who would you bring in? You know, we've seen in the past, like in a higher league, we've brought all these glory boys like Roy Keane in, and what the hell's that achieved apart from waste a load of money for the owner? Yeah. You know, who would you bring in? And we've got like a really sort of, you know, a bunch of owners now that will really back Mark Ashton and the team this side of the Atlantic. So you haven't necessarily got to have someone that's out of work. You may well go for someone out of work. You could potentially poach someone from somewhere else. But come on, Martin, who would you go for to replace Paul?
No, you know what? You've just said something that's made me realise I was talking absolute shit. You're right. Proceed, because I was talking waffle. That was, you're right. You would look at someone's record, and his record is pretty strong. I'll hold my hands up. I'd admit when I'm wrong, and I was wrong. Proceed. You've got me.
What about you, Amy? Are you happy with that as a pro, or?
Well, in all honesty, I don't really know much about what he did, except for the headlines. I don't feel like I know enough about what he did. It's like the Cardiff fans all turning around to us and saying, "Oh, what were you moaning about Mick McCarthy for?" And then
they know that now.
Oh, now we get it.
They know that
so
now.
I'm sure there's plenty of Wigan. In fact, I know there's plenty of Wigan fans who'd say, "Yeah, you're getting it now. That's why we didn't like him." But equally, there'll be some who say, "Well, he brought us all that success." So, but you're right. Based on record, what you need is somebody who has done it before, and he absolutely has. And actually, my choice for replacement hasn't. So maybe I'm in the wrong for that. So yeah, I get that totally.
Who's your choice?
Yeah, who's your choice first?
I've ever since McCarthy left, I've wanted Tony Mowbray straight up. And I would love to have him with McGreal, and that's why I was nodding so profusely when Graeme was just saying about going and poaching someone. My feeling is that we don't know whether the owners, I know your line on it, but we don't know whether the owners chose Paul Cook. That was an Evans signing. We've started again with the team. Maybe what we needed, I'm not saying I definitely want him out, but maybe what we needed was to start again with a manager that the owners wanted as well. And that for me would be about not digging around in the bargain bucket again. It would be about choosing who is going to be the right person for this club, not who's available, who we want, and going and getting them and spending the same amount of money as we have on players, if not more, because that's more important. We have proven that over the last few years. Players come and go. It's the managers that have been letting us down.
Spot on.
Well
said as well there, Amy. McCarthy, before Mick McCarthy, I've just thought he played Mark McGuinness at right wing back the other day. Mark McGuinness, who got skinned alive by Wes Burns at right wing back.
The thing is, though,
and in that league as well.
I know.
The thing is, though, if you moved on to replace Cook at this stage, you're looking potentially come January, which is a notoriously bad window to sort of do player sort of selling and buying, etc. All inflated prices. You're going to have that sort of big potential not to the extent we had in the summer, but certainly some ins and outs, which I just don't think is going to help the situation one little bit.
Totally agree.
Can I just sort of say something there? And obviously, I'm not an owner. I don't speak to the owners regularly. I don't know their thinking. I don't know the internal workings of behind the scenes. But I actually think that may be a slightly incorrect. I think we're now heading towards a model with Andy Rolls and Mark Ashton where, and people hate me saying it, but the Watford model of it doesn't really matter who the head coach or manager is, whichever role you want to give them. They're the same title, just said differently. It doesn't matter who that is. The recruitment is still going to be the same with dashboards and stats, young players on an upward curve of development. So that's where I think, you know what, it doesn't really matter who they bring in. Not in the sense of pedigree, but whoever they bring in is going to be treated the same whether it was Cook or not. January will be a window where limited things will happen. If we sell Edwards for 25 million, well, we'll go and get a couple of players. But we've done our business, work with the squad you've got, and then in the summer, again, you'll be given players that are stats. And that's why I think a head coach role, a bit like MK Dons, develop young players, develop players on an upward curve that will get better. And you're flexible, and you can go 4-3-3 1 week and 4-5-1, and then 4-2-3. You're adaptable. That's just what I'm thinking. I don't know how true that is. Might be absolutely codswallop, but who knows? Graeme, next program.
Next one, I think, is helped to track the current squad, and on paper, just on paper alone, I say it, but I would still argue we've got the best squad in the division if we can get them playing as a team rather than individually. So. You wouldn't have got Morsey even considering coming to us on deadline day. Selena, sort of people like that. Paul Cook has had a big influence in those players. And let's be perfectly honest, if you looked at that recruitment that Mark Ashton's done this summer, from what I understand, they've pretty much broken even on the wages and on the transfer, the fees in and out and whatever. Cook has had a big say in getting those players in.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I've been having a debate with somebody in the WhatsApp group, and I won't say his name just in case it embarrasses him. But we've been doing this debate where we've been sort of doing a poll every day where, well, not every day, but every so often, did Cook bring him in, or is he an Ashton statboard dashboard player? Because I can see two sort of recruitment models at odds with each other. You've got the Morsey, who's a Cook player, and the Lee Evans, who's a Cook player. Whereas for me, an Edwards and a Harper are players that are stat-wise and recruitment-wise players that can only go really that way. And that's more recruitment based on stats and Brentford type models. Does that make sense?
That's also like experience versus youth as well, isn't it? Which any good team is going to have. You've got more experienced players like Morsey and Cook's ex-Wigan players, alongside people like Harper, Bond, people like that who are on the way up. You can't have all of one and none of the other. You've got to be balancing it. So a mixture of the two. Yeah. But I totally take your point. There are some players in there that are very, very clearly come because of Cook, for which he deserves credit, no question. Absolutely. And there are some that have clearly potentially come because the club think that's the right thing to do, which you're thinking, aren't you?
Well, I'm just looking at someone like Scott Fraser, and this might be totally way off the mark. This is my opinion, and I look at Scott Fraser and I see him as a number 10, best in League One for the last 2 years, and he's played everywhere but number 10. He's played out wide on the left, occasionally out wide on the right. It's almost like, from the outside looking in, here you go, Paul Cook. I've bought you the best number 10 in League One because you play 4-2-3-1, and Cook's gone, oh, but I didn't really want him. I was going to plan on doing this with this and that with this, and now he's trying to sort of get a round peg and smash it into the jigsaw wherever we possibly can. That's what it feels like. Graeme, I don't know if you look at the outside looking in and think the same.
No, I can't disagree with that at all. I mean, I've wondered that for a long time. Where when Fraser plays at. Although you've got Selena as well, so Selena, although he can play wide, but potentially you've got two very, very talented players there. It's just almost trying to get that jigsaw and get them all in the right position so that it's a hard one. But as I say, yeah, I can see your views on sort of coming from the two angles of the sort of Paul Cook, I want this player, and the stat database and everything, right? Bang up, crunch all the numbers, and this one pops out. But the recruitment to a large degree, they're all very, very good individual players, and you're not going to sort of end up losing potentially transfer fee wise. But again, if we do go down, you could potentially, because we've suddenly got Division 2 players. But
Stephen Duffy, he's wandered in off the streets. He's a Man United fan. Welcome, Stephen. We welcome one and all in this chat. It's Talking Town, Ipswich Town FC, the greatest football team that's ever been created. We play in Ipswich and we're the finest football team. So come and join us. Come and watch. Don't watch.
Great shout about the women's team just then as well. And they definitely deserve a shout out today, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's very missing me at the start of the show. I do apologise, ladies. Fantastic win at the weekend. 3-1 against the London Bees. Yeah, great stuff. Really well done. They're a great little team. If you can go and watch them, and obviously I'm doing the podcast when they're normally playing, but if you can go and watch them, I commend you to go and watch them. But Graeme, any more pros?
Yeah, the next of the pros, I would say that Cooks. I mean, it's very difficult, this dividing line, because people are saying he's had 26 games or he's had 10 games or whatever it is. Let's not beat about the bush. I mean, he was trying to polish a turd last year, wasn't he, and turn it into a diamond. He hadn't got a hope. I think most of the players had basically sort of, just waiting for the P45s, weren't they, at the end of last season, the majority of them. Yeah. So, even though the record was poor and he took them further down with what he'd got than when he came in, if you just take the start of this season, he's had his 10 league games. Of those 10 of the 10 league games, he's only had 2 that Morsey's started because of the suspension when he signed for us. Yep. Selena's only played 4 games, so you would say they were probably 2 of his linchpin signings that were going to play if they were fit every week. But I would still counteract that, because to be fair, I'm getting sick to the back teeth of hearing about hair gel or whatever gel we want to bloody call it. If you look at your Wigan, they had about 1 or 2 players less than us in 17 or 18 players. They're top of the league. You had Morecambe, who hit the ground running against us first game of the season, and possibly, if we hadn't have equalised in the 96th minute, they would have won that match. You're looking at Bolton. There's a bunch of teams that aren't hiding behind we need to gel. We need to gel. I mean, and I think that I know we're on the pros at the moment, but I think that Paul Cook is maybe almost like digging a hole for himself. He said before the West Ham game, which I personally felt the West Ham, the what do you call it, the Margarita Cup or whatever it is, that competition. He said, straight after the 5-2 hammering, that he was putting a strong side out in that. And to me, the first time that Walton and the back four had played together, and Morsey coming in for his first game, surely you keep that back 5 or 6 and give them some chance to gel, play together. It's a competitive match that, okay, it doesn't really matter match, but it's a competitive game that, and then rotate the rest of the squad, but then we've also had, like, is saying the same thing again for tomorrow, that it will be, although I think he's caveated it a bit more, that it will be changed a bit. But, he also said, 3 games ago, we're not going to really have gelled until we play Accrington away. Bloody hell,
Exactly.
That is a quote from him. For God's sake, I appreciate they're trying to get the individual brilliant players to play together as a team, but don't keep shooting yourself in the foot by coming out with a specific game and date that's when we should be, or we hope to be, turning the corner, because then you go and play like you did Saturday. It doesn't really give the supporter a great deal of confidence, does it?
It really doesn't. No, this is pros though. This is pros though, Graeme.
I'm a cook. I'm a cook in. But
even when we're trying to be positive, we're still all looking really worried.
It's a wedding atmosphere, not a funeral atmosphere. Let's get it up. Come on, let's pump it up. Don't you know?
My last pro is that we showed what we could do potentially against Doncaster. Although I still can't work out whether Doncaster were absolute garbage or we made them look garbage, because they beat Milton Keynes on Saturday. So
yeah, I hate that result.
Yeah, I can't see which it was, but we showed that we've got the potential there. Or was it a false storm because Doncaster were so woeful? And it almost like, that the thing that I really worry the most, that we pick up that odd, really good or really impressive result, and then we limp along for another 3, 4, 5 games, and then you're almost thinking, oh God, this is just as far as it can go. And then there's another result, and then again, a bit like Paul Hurst, he got that victory, was it 3-2 away to Swansea, when everyone was certain that he was going, and then that kept him in for about another month, 6 weeks, didn't it, until
Paul Jewell, the game on Sky at Barnsley, when at half time we were 2-0 down, all of us were like reminiscing about Joe Royal and wondering who Paul Jewell would be replaced with. And then we won 5-2, didn't we? It was absolutely ridiculous. I feel like Cook's going that way, definitely. He's going to limp along, and then there'll be the odd game that keeps him in.
The thing is, though, you say that, and you're right, but you said yourself, Amy, had Bond scored the chance he had, we could have gone on to maybe not another 6-0, because Stanley aren't as bad as Doncaster, but you could have gone on to win 3 or 4. And I think the game on Tuesday, really, we took the chances that were presented with us, and by the second or third, I mean particularly the third, Doncaster's heads dropped. They didn't want to know. The weather was bad. Everything was against them. Internally, I think they felt that, the referee wasn't great. The weather isn't great. We're conceding goals for fun. Just get us off this pitch. And it was a great night for our football club, a really good night, and we mustn't take it away from ourselves. But is it going to hurt us in the long run? Only time will tell. What I didn't know, maybe you two will know this, or maybe you'll find it surprising as I did yesterday, not one back-to-back games under Paul Cook. So if you're thinking the next 5 are important, he's going to have to reverse that trend, isn't he, Graeme? He's going to have to.
Yeah, well, I mean, after the results we had, like at Lincoln, we sort of ummed and ahed about whether it was a good result against Sheffield Wednesday. And I don't think, I wasn't at that one because it was my daughter's birthday, but I was back on the Tuesday.
Oh, we've lost him. Right, Graeme, sort yourself out. Come back to us, Graeme. Could you
sort yourself out?
Well, it's that Adam Flat package. While Graeme is sorting himself out, we do have the Prediction League for this week, week 9. Fixtures are on the screen now. We have got Ipswich Town versus Shrewsbury, Morecambe versus Cambridge, Ipswich Town FC Women's versus MK Don Women's, Southend versus Chesterfield because it's international weekend, so there's no pointless Norwich tossers. And we've got Andorra versus England in a World Cup qualifier, Group I. Link is now in the chat for the Prediction League. We are giving away a copy of FM22. You've got to be inside the top 10 of these wonderful people, of this wonderful league table by the 30th of October to be entered into a prize draw. So that's Mike Woods, Rob Smith, Trevor, Taylor Paul Birchnell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 4, 5. And then you've got 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way down to Ian Houston. But if there is a situation come 30th where you're all on 9, I'll include all of the 9s. So I will be generous there. So it'll be right down to Ben Moore. Honestly, Ian Houston, Amy, would you believe, only started playing this competition 3 weeks ago, and he's already in that position there. You've got the second page of the Prediction League, all of those
the
3.
Next one that makes me laugh.
Look how tight it is. And then you've got the third page, all this space. Oh, look, Matt Phillips right at the end. With a big 0. Oh,
I'm afraid I'm probably going to join him there. I'm terrible at these.
I couldn't resist that. All this space.
That was very
look,
funny.
Matt Phillips with the 0. Matt, pick yourself up, son. Keep trying. It's the trier in you that we love. Mwah. Right, Graeme is back. Graeme, welcome back. Sorry you dropped out there.
Martin, I reckon Matt's coming up a bit short, isn't
he? But talking of a bit short, tomorrow night, Gillingham away in the Papa John's Pizza Express Trophy. It's a game that kicks off at 7 o'clock. We're live from 6:30 with the match day ticket, myself, Bricktop Peter Cox, and the aficionado Stephen Thompson, because our normal Tuesday contributor, Mr. Neil Positivity Moles, he's only booked a bloody holiday. I mean, what does he think he is? Anyway, he's on his Ollie Bobs, on his Sun Lounger. So Coxie's stepping in. We're live from 6:30, pre-game and again at post-game and half-time if you get a certain number of likes. Keep your eyes out for that. But 7 p.m, tickets on sale. First question to you both. Anybody going to be bloody going to this game? Or is the away attendance going to be 0 for the first time? What's going on? Amy, what do you think?
Well, you know what? We were quite surprised it was only 800 on Saturday. Had expected quite a lot, but we've got a theory about new grounds and how Ipswich fans love to go to a new ground. And Accrington, obviously, that was the 3rd time we've been there. So tomorrow is presumably a new one. It's not one I recognise.
No, it's Gillingham.
Can't think of the last time.
No, it's Gillingham, Amy.
Where was that?
Gillingham. It's the one. It's the stand at the end with no bloody roof on it. So you get not only you get pissed on, you get cold, you get all sorts. You got the the novelty carnival pop-up shops with the decorations that look like the year 6s down the road.
I must have missed this one.
Yeah, I mean, well, away days for you, Amy, like a Jaeger train. So I mean, you probably.
Oi! Curtis said to me that I looked very sober and he was very surprised. So I must have been all right. It was the journey home that was the problem.
See, that worries me because Curtis was driving home. So his eyesight's that bad. Was he going to Durham Castle? That's what I want to know. There you go. Look, that's quite a niche little joke. That's quite a Partridge joke, that I think. Graeme.
That was very intelligent for you.
Oh, I know. Well, I've got glasses somewhere. Wait till I put them on. I mean, that blows your mind. Graeme, what do you think? Away attendance tomorrow.
Well, if it's bad weather, I guess the number that go can all shelter behind Steve Evans' coat, can't they?
Easy now. Easy now. He's not the favourite person. Oh, I can't stand him.
No,
one of the things. One of the things.
Awful.
He brings it on all himself, doesn't he? He brings it on himself.
Definitely.
I bet he sends Paul Lambert Christmas cards now, though, doesn't he? Because him and Lambert had a bit of argy-bargy, and obviously one's still employed and one isn't now. I bet he still sends him little Christmas cards. He's that sort of. I can't stand him. Anyway.
You'd have to do a poll, wouldn't you? Do a poll for Talking Town as to who you like the best, Steve Evans or Paul Lambert.
Hey, easy now, big stuff.
Martin would so fix that one.
Leaving my man out of this, all right? He was dealing with shite with Ollie Hawkins, Aaron Drennan, Cole Skuse and co. All down at Cole United now.
Martin, he was dealing with shite because he brought them in.
He was given monopoly money and still managed to work a better league position. Anyway, it's not about him. It's about this man here. Look, sex. Look at that. Look at him. Absolutely stunning. Anyway,
how many pints did he buy you over the years, then, Martin? That you're so in love with him.
Have you not realised he's my dad? That's
okay.
It's the only reason why I'm still so Anyway,
I think I'd have changed your name by deed poll, mate.
He's not my dad, by the way. For those that are going to believe that. We are no relation. I'm not lucky enough. Monty 100. Again, no. Anyway. Monty 100 says Monty. T100 says Lee Brown. 65 says Mr. Ipswich Town. I mean, I don't know. It goes Paul Lambert. I'm not Paul Lambert's love child. Do not start that. He's talking shite on the TV now. I don't know if you're talking about me.
We were laughing at the Donny fans for only bringing 100 odd last week, weren't we? I suspect we're going to be less than Donny.
There you go. Who do you think he's sending those the Gov beers? Uncle Paul.
Uncle Paul.
Right. We expect obviously a makeshift, well, not a makeshift, but a youthful lineup. Miles Kenlock's being talked about possibly starting at left back, which shows what we're thinking about the cup. Well, that's an accurate way of putting that, I think. I'm not going to ask you for the team. When Paul Lambert said he played with big players, he was referring to you, Gov. Absolutely was, Matty Willis. Love that. Absolutely was. Lee Brown will be there on Boxing Day. Lee, you're a better man than me, son. You really are, because I ain't going anywhere near Gillingham at any point in the next 10, 20, 30, probably 50 years. No, you wouldn't have a final there. It's a shithole. Right, score predictions then as we round up the show. I'm not going to ask you for 1 to 11s because it'd be like, who's fit. But what are your score predictions for tomorrow? And does it matter? So tell me your score, but also tell me, does this cup matter to you? But also, does it matter to Cookie in the grand scheme of results and his job status? Graeme, kick us off with that one.
2-1 to Gillingham, and I don't think it really matters a job. No one takes it serious. I mean, whenever the results come up, it just makes me think of a ham and mushroom pizza, really.
Sorry, I've just got to read this one out. This is quite good. I like this one. You can come again, Mr. Ipswich Town. When Lambo talked about lifting the Champions League, he lifted Gov by the ears. Absolutely brilliant. Love it. Absolutely love it. Amy, what do you think? Not the ears. The ears alone. What do you think?
For me, it wouldn't be pointless if it was helping the team gel, because apparently we still need to gel. So the fact that he's still insisting on changing up the team, which he will do tomorrow, it just the benefit we could get out of this cup is getting ourselves on a roll and playing better for the league, and he's not doing it. So I couldn't care less. But I've seen Colin begging me to be positive, so I'm going to go for 2-1 to us.
Obviously, people are talking about we've talked today pros and cons. There's talks of his job. Does it matter in the grand scheme of his job tomorrow if he wins or loses? If he wins, is the pressure off a little bit for longer? If he loses, is it going to be more on twice as bad? Or really are fans not even going to bother? It's almost like an under-23 game. What do you feel on that one, Graeme?
Don't make any difference at all.
Okay.
A defeat at Gillingham in the Papa John Trophy is not going to make one iota difference on the whole scheme of things. That it's what we do in the league, and I think he needs to be given time, because I think there's a bigger danger of him not being given time and us dropping down into the bottom 4 quite easily. So I think he needs to be given time, but I don't know. He needs to start turning that time into some productive results, really.
Absolutely. Amy, do you feel, obviously Graham's points there very valid. Do you agree with him, or do you feel actually a result tomorrow or a defeat tomorrow may, one way or the other push the scales?
I think the comments have summed it up for us, haven't they? That nobody cares. Although I have just seen Colin wants a trip to Wembley. I think I made my opinion on that clear last year, but
I'll buy him a train ticket. That's all I can say, because he ain't going there with Town.
You get the train ticket, I'll get the ticket. If we make it to Wembley, he can have the trip on us.
I'm that stadium tour. He ain't going there for a football game. Town ain't playing there. Mark Downey, he won't put a strong team out, so Mike went on penalties. Irvin, Lambert, Lovechild. Stephen, no, I'm far too good looking. Let's be brutally honest, ladies and gentlemen. Come on. Stephen Prey, there are lots of points, and I've not played for big clubs. There are lots of points not being made so far. Important. It's not all black and white. Stephen, I'd like to know more of what you feel there. Maybe on Thursday's show. Come on, DM me on Twitter. We'll get you the link nice and early. If you feel there's points not being made that are important, I'd love to bring them to the table. It's all about balance and different opinions. Monty, he can't win either way. That's quite true. Neil Perks agrees. And still, the legend that is, couldn't care less about the Pizza Cup. Mr. Ipswich Town, sorry, Gov, delighted you laughed. I will laugh at myself. Amy would say this. I'm the biggest person to laugh at myself. Never take yourself seriously. Colin Plum. But you've, like me, have seen things, Graeme. Think of the young ones. Graeme, I think the American owners will disagree. Matt Whitting, not bothered about the Johnston's paint, as PC calls it. He's focused on Shrewsbury. Yeah. And somebody says, James B., what does Matt think? He was quite lively yesterday. He certainly was. So, that's us for today. Actually, I've really enjoyed today's show. It's been a really reasoned, well-mannered, decent debate. Some great interactions from the live chat. You two have been absolutely brilliant. You can join us tomorrow from 6:30, as I've said, for the pre-match match day ticket show. We'll react to the team news, get some thoughts. Somebody suggested a watch along. I'll see what the aficionado and Bricktop make of that. Maybe that can happen for a half or the whole game. Wait and see. But this is Talking Town, an FCA finalist awards next week. Fingers crossed presentation. That is Around the World. Author Graeme book, Adventures of a Tractor Boy. That is the Queen of Hearts, the Queen of Gin, Amy Downs. I am the Gov. Support us through Ko-Fi. The Prediction League is now in play. And you've got the most read sports story on Suffolk News today to read as well. Have I mentioned that a couple of times? I think I have. I'm going to go to bed and tell the wife, most read author. I'll see you all tomorrow from 6:30 with Love With Care.
We're on a journey, looking back on the things that we've taken for granted, but feels like we're learning to be better without what's been holding us back now. Let's move closer to a new history, find out what we can be.